Hey, you four. Welcome to our writing lesson today. Today, we're still looking at poetry. We're looking at features found in poetry, figurative language. Now, we are learning to identify examples of figurative language here in our lesson today. We'll be looking at alliteration, onomatopoeia, and hyperbole. We are also going to use alliteration, onomatopoeia, and hyperbole in our own writing. Now, you might be thinking, what is Miss Grinsell talking about? In this video, I will explain each of these types of figurative language. I will show you examples, and then I will show you what you need to do to be using them in your own writing today. So let's get started. First of all, alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same or similar kinds of sounds at the beginning of words or stressed in syllables. Now you can see here on the poster, the sizzling sun shone brightly in the beautiful blue sky. It's that repetition of that same sound in the same color there, beautiful blue. Have a look here in green. The friendly farmer fed. See how that F sound is repeated 3 times? That's alliteration. Here's another one. Here's for chirping chickens. The ch sound is repeated in the line there. So it's the repetition of the similar kinds of sounds at the beginning of words. Now here's an example of alliteration in a poem. Graceful as a dancer twirling through the sky. Now tune in, here it is. Turning, tumbling, twisting, gently floating by. See how in that third line, each of those words started with the T sound. Turning, tumbling, twisting. That's an example of alliteration in a poem. Have a look at the second verse here. Silent as a church mouse, gliding on the breeze, falling, floating, flying, drifting through the trees. You can see falling, floating, flying all start with F. That's an example of alliteration. So it's the repetition of that similar sound at the beginning of each of the words. Your job today to work with alliteration is to take a picture of an object in your house. Just write one sentence about it using alliteration. There's an example here. The perfectly placed pot. I'll start it again. The perfectly placed plant was perched precisely on the shelf. Have a look at perfectly placed plant, perched precisely. The same sound is repeated lots of times in the sentence. That's alliteration. So you will take a photo and put a sentence using alliteration here. Our second type of figurative language is onomatopoeia. That's the use of words that imitate the sounds associated with objects or actions they refer to. For example, achoo. It sounds like a sneeze. It imitates the sound of the sneeze. It's an example of onomatopoeia. Snap. It's the sound, it imitates the sound of clicking a photo. Or purr. The sound that the cat makes. Or a car, vroom. It's imitating the sound that we associate with a car. You might know other ones like boom, imitating the sound of a loud bang. So you can either use one of these or you can think of one of your own to do the same thing again, but this time write a sentence using onomatopoeia. Here's an example. Whoosh. That's imitating the sound of the wind rushing through the window. Whoosh. I heard the wind through the open window. So you need to have your example of onomatopoeia within the sentence and make sure you take the photo that goes with it. The third one we're going to look at today, hyperbole. Hyperbole is the use of exaggeration to make something better or worse than it really is. And here are some examples. I just ran 1,000,000 miles. Now, we all know in real life the person didn't actually run 1,000,000 miles, but they've exaggerated it to make it sound worse than it really is. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. We all know the person's exaggerating to make their hunger sound worse than it really is, but it's just a way that we use words. Oh, I can't say the other ones on there. I had a ton of homework. We all know the person didn't actually have a ton of homework. They just had a lot of homework and they were using hyperbole to exaggerate it. And that car goes faster than the speed of light. It's exaggerating to make something sound better or worse, and in that case, sound better than it really is. So, same thing again. Here's an example. So you take a picture of something in your house and write a sentence using a hyperbole, an exaggeration. It's so cold, I could freeze to death. You're going to put your own one here. The last thing to do today is to match up some of these with what we've just talked about today. Now I'm going to show you two of them to make it a bit easier. A simile is a comparison using like or as, and we know that because we've looked at it this year in Year 4 and we studied that in Year 3 as well. And then a metaphor is a comparison where one thing is said to be another. Your job will be to find these three, matching the three words with their definition: hyperbole, alliteration, and onomatopoeia. And you can look back at the posters if you need to remind yourself. Now, just a tip before you get started, if you get stuck, you can go onto Google and type in alliteration examples. You can type in onomatopoeia examples. You can type in hyperbole examples, and you'll get lots of great examples on there. Another place you can look if you're still not sure or would like some examples, go on to Epic. Type in hyperbole or onomatopoeia into Epic, and some books will come up that will give you examples and some extra help. Now, good luck today writing your 3 sentences and matching the definitions. Tomorrow, we will have a look at some different types of figurative language that are used in poems.